The phrase, "in the grand scheme of things," is an interesting one to me because it teases that there is a giant plan to everything that's going on and that we as individuals are just a small point in a larger model. The word scheme means plan, and for a plan to exist, there had to be a planner. But putting that aside for a minute, why do some people even think there is a plan for things that are happening when it comes to the events of the world? Everything seems so chaotic and random. But maybe it just looks that way from where we are standing. For instance, if you tried to explain macroeconomics to a 5-year-old, he wouldn't be able to understand unless you first explain how trade works using simple examples, with variables like toys and candy. Even then, the 5-year-old wouldn't really understand macroeconomics, he would just understand the examples you gave him, which was a heavily watered down metaphor. When it comes to the movement of stars and the complex interplay of market forces, we heavily rely on models to tell us what's going on. And a model will always be an abstracted version of the real thing that we can wrap our minds around. Sure, you can launch rockets and predict celestial occurrences billions of years into the future, but the physics underlying these things are still not fully understood. Otherwise, we'd be able to predict future events with pinpoint accuracy well into the future. We don't know what's going on with the double-slit experiment or the stringy fundamental building blocks of matter. We don't even know what's lurking at the bottom of the ocean. There is a book called Just 6 Numbers: The Deep Forces That Shape the Universe by Mark Rees. This book explores how the fundamental constants and forces of the universe are finely tuned to allow for the existence of life. If these forces were even slightly different, life as we know it would not be possible. So to assume there isn't a purposefulness to things, and I'm using very big quotations here, is really presumptuous. We think of ourselves as these high-minded beings who've escaped the rule of nature, but we are still ruled by our emotions. We haven't put our geopolitical bickering aside for the greater good, and we don't even have a real time horizon for space travel. So as smart as we are, we have not risen above the need to fight each other for basic resources. I'm beginning to understand why people choose to believe in a religion, and that's because it's comforting to feel like there is a final destination for this weird-ass reality, and that everything happens for some kind of end result that makes it all worth it. I don't know where I stand. I don't believe in a man in the sky, but I really think we are in some form of virtual reality that's conscious, and constantly adjusting things. And if you meditate long enough, it becomes apparent. That's why Buddha said this place is an illusion. Even Einstein said that the universe is an illusion, albeit a persistent one. I've reached a point in my meditative practice that seems to have given me insight on the high strangeness factor of life, in the form of rapid-fire coincidences that have a really low chance of occurring even once, let alone multiple times. It's what Carl Jung referred to as synchronicities. His example was that he had a dream of a golden scarab, then it appeared at his window. I also vaguely remember him also mentioning thinking of a rare foreign cake, and it appearing when he was at a friend's party, then again at a restaurant, all in the same day. If you had these freakish experiences over and over day after day like I have, you'd think you're developing schizophrenia or psychic powers. I don't think either thing is what's happening. I think this kind of thing happens to people all the time, but they don't have the awareness to notice it in their busy lives. Meditation slows things down to a point where your mind sees a pattern, and the more you meditate, the more of this pattern you catch on to. I think the point of these unusual little occurrences is to show us that maybe there is a higher logic to all this, and that it's just out of our reach, and that life in this reality follows a stranger rule set than you think. I'm still trying to figure out what's happening when I accidentally astral projected on 3 separate occasions. But who knows, all this is just one guy's opinion, and that doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things.